As you all know, not only are we facing, or supposedly facing, a budget crisis this year, teachers in Chicago spend on average $1,000 a year of their own money to buy supplies for their students. That's just not just our teachers, but teachers across the curriculum.
Good morning. We're here today because we have some problems that still haven't been worked out. And the biggest problem is that we have teachers that have the highest certification in the land who still do not have jobs and who are being refused jobs for a variety of reasons. The problem is that we still have not gotten the Board of Education to utilize the money that was allocated by the Congress for the Education Jobs Bill for the recall and rehire of teachers. This is still problematic, and especially in light of the fact that we have a lawsuit that is ongoing. So what I would ask you today, and the reason we're here, is for you to meet some of these teachers and also ask the lawmakers, what was their intent with this bill? This all came about when one of our members went to her representative, to her congressman, and said, "Congressman, I need your help." And that congressman is Luis Gutierrez.
Hi.
Oh, you're right behind me. Come on this way. I'm sorry, I thought you were going over.
Thank you so much. We demand much of our teachers. We demand long hours, the sacrifice of personal time and resources. We demand that they raise test scores, sometimes even without textbooks that students can take home. We demand that they spend every day inspiring our students to learn, to lead, to grow, and to reach their potential. Teaching is definitely not for the faint-hearted. Teachers of whom we demand so much time and energy and who have proven themselves to be exceptional and highly qualified deserve the protection of a strong union contract. For these highly qualified and highly rated teachers, tenure must mean something. We are very lucky here in Chicago because many of our teachers have such a vocation that they reach above and beyond our demands. As Mayor Daley said, national certification brings with it most rigorous evaluation of teaching skills that exist. To earn that certification is the teaching profession's highest achievement. Yet, joining me here today is Sunny Nieder-Dubois, a national board certified teacher who has been forced out of her classroom due to misguided policy perpetuated by budget crisis and replaced with teachers who do not reach the highest, most rigorous standard. She was let go, yet they replaced her with teachers who do not meet what the mayor himself said should be the highest, most rigorous standard. This policy has empowered principals to circumvent union contracts and dismiss teachers all across the city in the name of a budget crisis. In the process, highly qualified, experienced, good, and dedicated teachers have been laid off when we institute a policy that allows the best teachers, and now I'm going to go, bringing the gold standard in teacher certification to our neighborhood schools is significant in and of itself. The gold standard. That is our CEO of the Chicago Public Schools. In his words, yet that same school is dismissing them by the dozens. Nearly 50 of them have been dismissed. Our students deserve to be taught by the best teachers, not simply the most affordable teachers.
Yes, yes, yes.
I recently sent a letter to Mr. Huberman requesting that he investigate this failed policy. And I asked him to reinstate experienced and qualified teachers who have been let go without cause. In addition, and what I mean by without cause is simply they say it's a budgetary process. They don't say they're bad teachers. They don't say they didn't teach, they didn't fulfill all of the requirements. No, as you will hear later, some of them have been receiving accolades and awards from many across the country. In addition, I asked to ensure that all honorably dismissed tenured teachers be allowed the protections of their contract. On August 10, 2010, President Obama signed a bill establishing Jobs Fund. Through this fund, the City of Chicago School District has received approximately $104 million. And as you recall, we sent you all press releases touting what we had just done. The $104 million was to retain, recall, and rehire teachers. Yet here I stand today, over 2 months later, with highly qualified and experienced teachers who the Chicago public school system has not rehired and has not recalled. Yet the check is not in the mail. The check has been cashed. And now it is time for them to do what the Congress of the United States said the money was for: rehire those qualified teachers. I have asked and will continue to ask Mr. Huberman to use these funds to hire back Chicago's best teachers. In order for our education system to work, we must ensure that our students are taught by the best teachers, and that these teachers have the respect and protections that they have earned. I would now like to introduce to you someone who has become someone that I respect very much, become a friend of those in our office. I'd like to introduce to you someone who has met the most rigorous standards, who is the gold standard of teaching, the mayor, someone who has done everything that these two individuals have said they should do. I'd like to introduce you, Sonny Nieder Dubois, please.
Wow, tough act to follow. I would like to thank Congressman Gutierrez for his impassioned support of education and students in Chicago. As he said, I am a nationally board certified teacher. I've been teaching on the west side of Chicago for the past 7 years. I was laid off in last August, a couple weeks before the school year was to start. As the congressman said, I believe our students deserve the most experienced, the most highly qualified, and the most highly honored teachers. Our students deserve teachers with proven track records, with a deep understanding of our communities, and with strong connections to our cultural and post-secondary institutions. By replacing experienced, proven, highly qualified teachers with first-year teachers unfamiliar with our students and unconnected to our communities, not only is a great disservice being done, but an even greater injustice. Just as students in our wealthiest communities deserve experienced, award-winning, highly honored teachers, so do our students in our more underserved communities. Today, I'm asking CPS to honor its commitment to all of our communities by using all of the EduJobs money to return our experienced, highly qualified, and highly honored teachers back to their students. Thanks. That's all I've got for you guys right now. I would like to introduce Ted Oppenheimer, one of the greatest supporters of our teachers. As you all know, not only are we facing, or supposedly facing, a budget crisis this year, teachers in Chicago spend on average $1,000 a year of their own money to buy supplies for their students. That's just not just our teachers, but teachers across the curriculum. The Oppenheimer Family Foundation has made it possible for teachers like myself, Francisco, and teachers around Chicago to provide all of our students with amazing experiential learning opportunities that they would not otherwise have. Our schools do not give the teachers enough money that they need to create unique learning opportunities, and the Oppenheimer Family Foundation is one of those organizations that supports teachers. And so, Ted Oppenheimer, thank you.
Well, it's so nice to be here today to be able to introduce Francisco Mendoza. I love Francisco. I've known him for many years, and he is a Oppie Award winner, which means the Oppenheimer Family Foundation gives grants every year to teachers, including Sonny and Francisco. We also select, out of all our thousands previous grant winners, one teacher per year to be an Oppie Award winner. In 2003, we selected Francisco Mendoza because I personally had observed the quality of his work. I had seen he and his students working on mosaic tiles on the current Cooper School, the old Orozco School. The way he worked with students, the excitement he got, the way he was able to introduce the culture and history of the Mexican community into Pilsen, I thought was outstanding. Therefore, he was a winner. And as far as I'm concerned, he always will be one. Francisco Mendoza.
Come forward. Come forward.
I'll hold it for you. Oh, yes. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for your support. Thank you, Mr. Ted Oppenheimer. 1985, January 7th, 1985, I began my new profession as an art teacher. And I poured my heart and soul with my students, creating class projects, indoor, outdoor murals in the Pilsen community. I was the first art teacher with my students to muralize a CTA train station. Two of the largest exterior mosaic murals in the city of Chicago have been accredited to me and my students. I received support through the years from Carlos Tortoletto, the director of the National Museum of Mexican Fine Art. I received the Distinguished Education Award, the Oppie Award from the Oppenheimer Family Foundation. I was a Golden Apple finalist. April 7th, I was diagnosed with cancer, multiple myeloma. Mid-August, while I was in chemo treatment and sick leave, I received a letter from the board, and it stated, you, as of August 31st, you will no longer work or be an employee of the board. As far as your insurance, you lose that too. What a way to say thank you. That's what I have to say.
When our teachers are numbers on a spreadsheet and our children are considered widgets, we have a problem. When we have people who have MBAs and not EDDs or PhDs, we have a problem. And ultimately, those of us who are nationally board certified, and I count myself amongst those, it's rigorous, it's reflective, and it is particularly valuable to urban teachers. And I can tell you that this travesty must stop, and the excuses have to stop. We have two more congressmen here that would like to talk to you. So I would ask that Representative Danny Davis come talk to you, and also Representative Bobby Rush. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I believe that teaching is the most noble of all professions, and that those individuals who give of themselves each and every day of their lives for the benefit of others should be accorded the highest level of protection as well as the highest level of respect. And so I join today with the Chicago Teachers Union, with two of my colleagues, Representative Luis Gutierrez, Representative Bobby Rush, to ask the Chicago Board of Education to use the monies for which we voted, for which we argued, for which we debated, for the purposes it was allocated for. When we debated the jobs bill, the jobs bill, we knew that it was supposed to be used to restore teaching positions and teachers who had been laid off from districts all across the country who didn't have the money, the resources. And so we voted, and the Chicago Public Schools have received more than even what they asked for. They asked for 100 and they got 104 million. We believe that that money should be used first and foremost to restore those teachers, highly qualified, certified, back to their rightful places. And we don't agree, I don't agree with the idea that you replace experienced individuals just for the purpose of trying to save money. That at the apex of their careers, you kind of push them to the side and say, we're sorry, but you've got to go. And we're going to bring in some inexperienced individuals to take your place. Please, Chicago Public School System, do the right thing. Restore these teachers to their rightful places.
I'm here standing shoulder to shoulder with not only the Chicago Teachers Union, with the gold standard teachers who have been fired and not rehired. But I'm also here standing shoulder to shoulder with the thousands and the tens of thousands of Chicago students who, as of today, real school has yet to begin. They've been in a classroom since September, in some instances August. But the real school year has yet to begin because they're being shuffled from teacher to teacher, from subject to subject without having any sense of continuity. So they are confused about what their requirements are and what their education is supposed to be. I'm also here because I remember very clearly the time that we took the vote in the Congress to pass this multi-million-dollar package, the jobs programs, to restore America's teachers. I remember the issue that I had to struggle with, and I'm sure my colleagues had to struggle with. And that issue was, where was this money going to come from? And the only place that it could come from was the child nutritional program. So here we are, we're really a Hobson's choice. Do we take money from the child nutrition program to give it to the school systems across this nation to rehire teachers, and we made a choice, a decision. Now today, after making that tough decision, I charge the Chicago Public School, the Board of Education, the superintendent with gross negligence for not spending that money in the manner and in the spirit that the U.S. Congress passed this legislation and funded it. As a recovering cancer patient, my heart bleeds for Francisco. I don't know if anyone should ever be put through as they realize that they're in their going through chemo treatments, that they should get a letter from any caring institution or any caring individual that says that you're terminated and you have no insurance. That is just symbolic of the callousness and the craziness and the confused state of this Chicago Public School Board of Education. Somebody there must have a heart. Somebody there must have compassion, and somebody there must have concern. This is not a bottom line issue. The money is there in the bank. But because of their politics and their limited, out-of-place priorities, they refuse to spend this money. I am demanding, and I want my colleagues to join with me, that we have a summit, an accountability summit with this Board of Education, and for them to tell the Illinois delegation where this money is, how much has been spent, how much remains to be spent, and when are they going to rehire the remaining teachers that should be rehired based on the money, an excessive amount. We gave them not only an abundant amount of money, we gave them an excessively abundant amount of money. And why haven't they spent it? They got to come and answer those questions to the members of the Chicago delegation if they're going to get any more support from us in Washington, D.C.
Thank you, Congressman. Questions?
On what basis were these teachers laid off? By seniority or by what the board used to call least qualified?
Neither.
Okay,
They were neither. They laid off programmatically in this one, correct?
Let me,
Yes.
Sunny came to my office because the school she teaches in is in my congressional district. And interestingly enough, they answer the question both ways, actually. On the one hand, they say that her position was eliminated for budgetary reasons because the Board of Education gave some extraordinary powers to school principals to make decisions. That's the way it was related to me. And so therefore, they made a budgetary decision that she would be let go. Then as we investigated further, they told us, oh, really? She was let go because they made a curriculum change, that they wanted certain kinds of art teachers at the different, in the freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior classes. They wanted with different kinds, dance and certain specifications of art teacher. And they said she didn't fit the bill of any of those. So she was let go there. What you should understand is, and this is what I've become aware of, If you let them go for budgetary reasons, they get nothing. No health care, no severance package, nothing. If they let them go for curriculum reasons, they must give them a year of health care according to their contract. So it seems to me that we're not quite sure why they let her go, or they let her go for both reasons, but opted for the reasons. And I would just like to say that, thank you, Congressman Rush, and thank you, Congressman Davis, and Bobby, thank you for that, what could be your very personal experience that you're bringing here. But Sunny has a brand new baby, and she doesn't have health care. And it is wrong. And the reason I brought these charges, because I was a school teacher too. I taught elementary school for 2 years. And why did I bring you these two charts? Because I was taught, to bring and be ready to teach. And so this is Ron Huberman's quote. And this is Mayor Daley's quote. My teacher, Sonny, she's got the gold standard. Why would they replace somebody with the gold standard who has met the most rigorous evaluation and the highest achievement according to, and replace her? So I know what they're gonna tell you. It's the teachers union that's in the way. They're keeping those incompetent, bad teachers, and that's why the kids won't learn. It's a lie. It's a myth. And we're beginning to break down that myth and that lie here today by presenting to you two marvelous, wonderful teachers. The explanation, I hope you will ask them for. And I think that what Congressman Rush spoke to, a further explanation will have to be granted.
So do you think they all should be rehired, or they have to have some sort of criteria? Because you keep saying highly qualified teachers. Those are.
This is a very specific instance, but it is endemic of what's going on. And I think what the Congressman Gutierrez just said is extraordinarily important, because the way the board has spun all this is we had to do this to get rid of bad teachers. So that what they did was painted this bad teacher brush across the board, when in fact, it's not true. Some of the very first teachers they let go were nationally board certified teachers who were working as mentors. So the problem is there is no recall provision, which is why we took them to court to say that according to state law, there needs to be a recall provision. There has not been. What they did was just sort of give these extraordinary powers to the CEO, and then he conferred those to the area officers, who conferred those to the principals. And basically they just sat down and said, okay, this one, now my budget's picked, or this one I don't like the way she's wearing her hair today, or whatever. The question you ask is very important. It's like, what reason? We don't know, because they make it up as they go along. And if we actually looked at the categories, it was a third of this one, a third of this one, and a third of that one. Just numerically, that doesn't even play out statistically. So that question is problematic. We think that according to the budget, they told us, if you give us $100 million in concessions, you can keep these 1,000 positions. They received $104 million from the Congress.
But if they have a reason and they have a criteria to use in order to rehire these teachers.
They have not
But if they
been
do,
for.
when they have, and if they have the time, do you think it's that okay with you? But that some teachers might not qualify, if there's criteria, they have to rehire them back.
What you're asking is a very theoretical, hypothetical question. There are none. This is what we're supposed to sit down and work out. That is where we need to go. We're not there yet. So I understand what you're saying, but I cannot talk to you about what ifs. I have to only talk to you about what we know. And the fact is, we don't have these. Yes?
Issues like this one and many others have to be viewed in the context of what's going on in the city of Chicago and the nation today. But in the city of Chicago, there is an intense campaign for candidates to be the next mayor. You have here with you one probable candidate for mayor, another extremely strong potential candidate for mayor who's chosen not to run. Yet the candidate who has made the most noise about education this week, Rahm Emanuel, is not here, backing you, supporting you. What does that say to you? What message does that send to you?
I don't think it's
to
me.
That doesn't have anything to do with this. I'm sorry.
Could I just explain?
Sure, go right ahead.
I would just like to say something. Sonny and the teachers got fired independent of, you know, the mayoral campaign. And I've come here as a member of Congress. She came to my office. As has been so eloquently explained to you, we fought hard for that $104 million. So I think as an elected official, I have a stake. I went and fought for the $104 million. I have a wonderful teacher in my district who is the gold standard, the highest achievement, according to the mayor and the CEO. So I came here to fight for her and to fight for the other teachers that have been wrongfully dismissed, I believe, on the one hand. Because understand something, that when a constituent comes to me and says, and I talked to the Board of Education, they gave me this explanation. They've been very good about, and they wrote me a letter, 4-page letter explaining. So don't think we haven't been in correspondence with one another. They are respectful in that sense in terms of answering questions. But think about it. If they were going to hire, and just so you know, they hired another art teacher. As a matter of fact, they hired 2 art teachers at the high school. She's just not one of them for some ridiculous reason. And they don't have the most rigorous, highest achievement. They don't meet the gold standard. So, I mean, I look at it from that perspective and I say, well, what is it? It's got to be money. It's got to be about money. And so when I keep hearing that all of this is about getting rid of those bad teachers, it's really not. We're giving you an example. Look, I know why I'm here. I think I know, I'll speak for Bobby at this point. I know why Bobby's here and I know why Danny's here. I'm not running. I already made that. I've been working with Sonny through this whole process. I'm happy to be here free of that burden and to be able to speak to you, I think, from the position of that, look, this is why I'm here, for one reason and one reason alone. Do I think it's a big issue that the next mayor of the city of Chicago is going to have to deal with? Yes. But in the meantime, right now, we cannot wait for February and possibly a runoff in April to figure this out. These teachers need to get back to work right away. And it's wrong for Sonny to get a little email, right? It was an email? A voicemail 2 weeks before classes are going to start. The gold standard teacher, the one that met the most rigorous, highest achievement, a voicemail 2 weeks before classes are going to start says, we don't need you. I mean, come on. If you were going to do it because of a curriculum issue, shouldn't you have spoken to her so she could meet some higher standards for you and get trained? So, and think about it. I mean, we have Mr. Mendoza here who has achieved the highest awards from the Oppenheimer Foundation because of his work. And these teachers have brought honor, you know, and to our public school system and resources, and they're being let go. So I know there's a lawsuit. The judge said for the teachers union and for the Board of Ed to settle how they're going to rehire these teachers. Let's get on with that process.
Jay, let me just say one thing though. My being here has nothing at all to do with mayor. I taught for 6 years in the Chicago public school system as a certified teacher. I also was a union delegate when I was in my early 20s, about 22, 23 years old. My wife just retired a few years ago after 35 years as a public school teacher. My sister just retired as a principal. My sister-in-law just retired. Education has been, I served on the education committee in Congress until last year when I went on Ways and Means. I am co-chairman of the Congressional Black Caucus's task force that deals with education. And so I deal with education every day of my life. I am a strong protector of teachers' unions. I believe that there are many instances where people are trying to blame the education crisis in this country on teachers' unions. And the reality is, the reason I joined the teachers' union when I did and got involved, because the janitor at the school where I worked was making more money than I was. And I thought that was kind of ridiculous. He and I were the best of friends because I got to school every day before 8 o'clock in the morning. And the two of us would be the only people there. So it has nothing at all to do with the upcoming mayoral election.
If I could, just to summarize this, I think that you're doing a real disservice, Jay, and I'm not you personally, but I just would really caution the media. You know, every issue that the citizens of this city face should not be used and viewed through the prism of the mayoral elections. There are a number of issues that exist, regardless of the mayoral election, which has not officially even begun. So I would just caution us not to try to pile mayoral intentions or motivations on each and every issue. For me, not only is it standing with the teachers and the Chicago Teachers Union, but again, I reiterate, I'm standing also with the children, those children who are lost and who are looking for a way forward to their future. Those children who some of who have given up in their frustration. And this certainly adds an element to their frustration. And how much are we going to ask our children who are most vulnerable to bear as relates to our misjudgments, our miscalculations, our misabuse of our powers and prerogatives as adults? That's all. We have got to look out for these children, and it sends the wrong message to fire gold standard teachers and to keep other gold standard teachers from being rehired while you're sitting on the money, on the dollars that the Congress took from the children in order to give to the children, took from child nutrition in order to give the child education. Now, any way you cut it, that money belongs to the children, and we ought to give it to the children and rehire these teachers.
Let me try to. I just think because I've been in contact with the Board of Education a lot, and I understand your question. Let me just state the following. Mr. Huberman has been nothing but gracious and kind and generous and polite with the time he has given me and the correspondence that we have exchanged. We may have a disagreement over the procedures and how he has taken, but you know, this is not about a personality, about him being in that position. I want to make that absolutely clear, and I'm going to continue to work with him to make this school system better. So hopefully that will help depoliticize this a little
Gentlemen,
bit.
we've heard everything you said, and all the points that have been made are very well taken. But if you will please indulge me, the one question that I do have to ask is, Ms. Lewis, did you invite Rahm Emanuel here today, and do you know if he supports this cause?
Okay, first of all, this wasn't about invitations, and this was about who voted on the bill. Again, I understand where you're trying to go, but we just didn't go there. So this had nothing to do with dissing anybody. That's not what this is about at all. Matter of fact, Congressman Gutierrez came to us. So this is a completely different way because he wanted to talk to us about what we were doing. So this has nothing to do with anyone else who is not in Congress. And this is specifically about the EduJobs bill.
Do any of you think that the $104 million is being spent illegally?
I can't.
Well, I don't know about being spent illegally, but I do know the intent that I voted on when we voted for the bill. I know the speeches that I made on the floor of the House was that by passing this bill, we were going to put more than 5,000 teachers in Illinois back to work who were being laid off. That's the rationale that I used in order to vote yay when the bill came up. And so that's what I expect to happen, is that those individuals will be put back to work. That was the intent of the Congress.
And when this weekend, I spent the weekend in Nevada, and I was with the majority leader, Harry Reid, and when I introduced him at a partisan event for his reelection, one of the things I made reference to was the 1,400 teachers in Nevada that were brought back because of his leadership, because of this money. I mean, anytime there's a reference to these dollars, there is always a reference to a number of teachers that will be put back to work. And in our case, it's to put back thousands of teachers throughout the state. And in our particular, it was $104 million to put them back to work.
If there aren't any more questions, I'd like to wrap it up and thank all the legislators for coming here and our teachers and our representatives of teachers who have still not been put back into their positions. Over 400 when 30 million is available. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Hang in.